So yeah, let's talk about winning the interview, because in a six-figure job hunt, there's an entire process, and it's a step-by-step process. And you have to create the resume and all of the groundwork having to do with coaching your references and the online presence and getting your business cards and creating that campaign, that targeted campaign. That really is the start. And then once you garner the attraction of employers, then you have to know how to interview, both in a phone interview and a face-to-face interview. And then once you're offered the job, you've got to win that job. There's only one winner. And once you're offered it, there's a step that most people forget, which is negotiating. And I could certainly cover that on a different class. There's a lot of information there. But to win the interview, I do want to stress, really I've got 7 different strategies, and they're all about becoming more likable. And the reason that I felt that it was important to share this with everybody today is because it's been shown in a lot of studies, and I know this to be true because I was a hiring manager for 18 years. People hire people they like over people that are more qualified. And that's worth repeating. People hire people they like over people that are more qualified. It happens all the time. You've probably seen this. Well, how did this other guy get the job? Because I was more qualified. I know it was a perfect fit for me. But yet some other guy got this job and he doesn't have near the qualifications that I do. A lot of it has to do with fitting in and being likable. So I'd like to talk about 7 different ways that you can create personal chemistry during an interview and even before an interview that will help you win the job. The first one is impressing the front office. And most people kind of forget this, but a technique that you can use is to talk with whoever it is that is bringing you into the face-to-face interview. It might be another manager. It might be a receptionist. It might be a possible peer. And find out who their name is. Make sure you memorize their name. You might even get their business card if they're in management. If it's a receptionist, they may not have a business card available. But get their business card, remember their name. And then when you're leaving, hunt them out and thank them for their time. Thank them for bringing you in. Just show some appreciation and use their name. That really impresses them. It's been shown a lot that hiring managers, of course, never make a decision by themselves, and about 75% of hiring managers, executives, especially in a high-level position, will ask the receptionist, will ask the office staff, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. What do you think? Is this guy good? And if they give a crinkled face or a nasty look, then you don't have a chance. So impressing the front office is a really good technique. Number 2 is projecting the right image, and that means having for everything from an updated suit or dress, you dress appropriately for the position. Actually, a good rule of thumb is to whatever you would be wearing on a day-to-day basis, take it up about 2 notches. So you always dress very nicely for an interview. You always have a very professional haircut, and this is just kind of the baseline. Everybody knows how to do this, but really projecting the right image is all about how you look, but it's all about the attitude that you project when you go in there. You're enthusiastic, you're energetic, you're ready to tackle that job. And then number 3 is compliment the hiring manager. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, right. But really, if you give sincere and specific compliments, that actually goes a long way. Flattery will get you everywhere. But it just can't be this false trying to grasp at straws, figuring out what to flatter them on, but really giving them a compliment about maybe it's the building, maybe it's something in their office, maybe it's flattering the company that they work for. Maybe it's flattering the work environment as you're walking through the office to get to that conference room or that executive office. So find something specific to compliment them on. Number 4 is asking the right questions. And that comes down to being prepared, You research the company, and then you use that information to formulate good questions. You also want to ask specific questions to not only the job that you're looking for, but the company. Even if it's an IT position that is not the head of a department, you still want to know what the company's plans are to grow. How solid is the company? What are the company's plans in growing the IT department in future years? And also, if you've got some information about the company, you can use that to phrase even better questions. You can even ask the hiring manager, what are your plans? How do you see this company and yourself in this company in a year from now or 2 years from now? Number 5 is when you're answering questions, you gear your answers towards contributions that you've made, and those are specific to either making a company money or saving a company money. And I really, with my clients, stress quantifiable results. That's a big, big deal. If you go into an interview and it's a successful interview and you're giving them a specific story of when you've saved a company money or made a company money, which is affecting their bottom line, you'll notice when you give that quantity, that's what they're writing down. That's what they're scribbling down on their piece of paper, is how much money you saved the last company that you were with. Also, if you can twist it into how you might do that for them, show some contributions that you might do, even asking questions like a consultant for their company. So if you were a consultant going into that company, what questions would you ask in order to solve the problems that they have? Identify what those needs are. Number 6 is be comfortable with silence. And this is really a big one that a lot of people have problems with. When you're in an interview, after you've stated your answer, and your answer really shouldn't go more than 3 to 5 minutes. If it's above 5 minutes, you're going way over. And a lot of times you can say what you have to say in less than 3 minutes. Once you're done with that story, be comfortable with just shutting up. And don't take that as a bad sign. It's not necessarily an uncomfortable silence. It's uncomfortable for you because you're the one in the hot seat, but they may be thinking about what question they want to formulate next. They may be considering what they're going to write down, and especially in a phone call, you don't know what they're doing. They could be taking a whole bunch of notes. They may be looking through your resume for something else to ask you about. So please be comfortable with silence and don't try to fill it in with a lot more information, because that information is not heard. Once you've told your story, you're done with it. And then number 7 is research the company well beyond their website. Research the industry if you're changing industries. And go so far as to research the person that you're going to be talking to, not necessarily in a stalking way, but in order to find out if you've got a connection with them. If they belong to an association, that you may know someone who belongs to that association. Or, I mean, this kind of goes a little far, but with Google Earth and with Google Maps, you can find a street view of their house. If they live on a lake, they're probably into water sports. If you're into water sports, then you mention, gosh, I can't wait for this next weekend because it's going to be great weather and I'm going to get out on the lake. Really? You go out on the lake? So now you're really, connecting, making a connection there. If they live on a golf course and you golf, you can mention that you're going to play golf in the next couple of weeks. And these are kind of sneaky, but it's the creative way to build a connection, and it's those connections that get you the job. And those are some of the. There's a lot of techniques that I work with my one-on-one clients, but those are just some of them on building the likability factor.
All right, Tammy. So you've just now developed an executive workshop that covers every single thing you help your one-on-one clients with. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, and I said I didn't want to make it a sales call, but I did say at the beginning of the call that I wanted to introduce a new workshop that I put together for executives, for six-figure professionals. And it's just real quickly, I'll tell you about it. It's a 3-day workshop. It's virtual, which means it's by phone, and it's online. The online part is completely optional. But it's by phone, and it's going to be held April 27th through the 29th, which is a Wednesday through Friday. So you can listen in at home, even in your jammies if you want to, but it's a ton of information. It goes into immense detail about how to conduct the most effective six-figure search. In fact, these are all of the same strategies and techniques and skill development that I give my one-on-one clients. But I've made it available at a much lower cost. And also, over a much quicker time, I've actually had suggestions over the last few months, can you give it to me much faster, and can you make the price lower? So it's going to be a very small, intimate class. I'm capping it at 10 people because I want enough time to do individual coaching, to do mock interviewing, to answer personal questions so that everybody feels like they're getting individual attention.
And you told me, Tammy, that your one-on-one clients have been getting jobs extremely fast just over the last few months.
Yeah, actually, since about the fourth quarter of last year, the one-on-one clients that I work with, a lot of them are starting new positions within a month after working with me, and some even before we stopped working together. I mean, it's just been, I think things are moving, and I work with clients in Kansas City and all over the United States, but people are really, companies are starting to hire. People are finding that that my strategies are really working for them to get the higher level positions.
So what's the average, you say, your clients are getting jobs now?
Well, there's a lot of factors at play, but most of them are getting jobs in less than 8 to 10 weeks, I would say. A majority are less than 8 to 10 weeks. Like I said, there's some that go literally right after they get their resume. It's 2 or 3 weeks after. I mean, it's very quick. But there are some that go, 12 weeks or so. And like I said, there's a lot of factors that come into play with that. But I would say, on average, most of them are getting them in less than 2 months.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot faster than the 8.5 months national average.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, that's why I've been able to change the tagline of my business. It was, your lifeline to a richer and more rewarding career, but I changed it just a few weeks ago to get a six-figure job in weeks, not months. But I didn't want to turn it into a sales call. So if you're interested in learning more about the workshop, you can go to www.sixfigureworkshop.com, and you actually spell out the six. It's SIX. Sixfigureworkshop.com. And we've got pretty close to 75 people on the call, and I'm not sure how many people are listening online. Like I said, I'm only accepting the 10 participants for this month's workshop, so if you're interested, you might check it out in the next day or so at sixfigureworkshop.com.
Okay. And Tammy, did you want to give any of the listeners an incentive for signing up today or the next day or two?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sure. If and this is just for people who register for this teleclass series. So if you're listening to this later or if you're live on the call, if you want to register for the workshop by this Saturday at midnight, what I can do is add in the Job Search Accelerator Blueprint, which is a 136-page manual. And something also, I hadn't planned on doing this, but I will also put in my Resume Reboot manual, which teaches you how to do an effective six-figure resume. I don't remember. I think that's about 80 or 90 pages. It's a pretty extensive manual I can put that into. And then also, I've got some cover letter and marketing letter templates that handle pretty much every situation that you might encounter. There's over 75 cover letters there. I know the Job Search Accelerator Blueprint sells for $149. The templates I sell for $89 because they really are kind of fill in the blank, and they've been proven to get a lot of response from employers. And then the Resume Reboot Manual I sell for $49. So there's some good things there. And that's if you want to go to sixfigurepro.com. But, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I would like, for people who would like to stay online or can, I would love to answer any questions that you might have. So if you do have a question, press *2 to raise your hand, and I would be happy to answer those questions. Let me